Hi, it's Daunielle Doughty with the Locals team. So today I'm here to walk you step by step through the home buying process in California. Hope this is helpful information. Here we go. So the first step is your initial buyer consultation. That is a time when we are going to discuss your wants and needs, figure out areas that you're looking for. Are schools important to you? Just really dive into what you're looking for. At that time, we'll also chat about market conditions, what to expect. Are we in a hot market where we might be looking at multiple offers? Or are we in a softening market where potentially we could get a great price on a home? We'll also go over the whole buyer process. Of course, I'm doing that here now with you, but this is something I'm going to move through very quickly. When we meet, we can really dive in detail and answer any questions that you have about the process. The next step is speaking with the lender. This is a very important step. And the reason is they are going to determine how much you can afford on your home. We don't want to start looking at homes before you speak to a lender. And the reason is we may start looking, you might fall in love with the home only to find out that home is just too expensive for you. So speaking with the lender is crucial. Now there's a couple different stages that you'll go through with the lender. The first stage is called pre-qualification. Now that is a stage where you just have a casual conversation with the lender. You're going to let them know how much you make in income, how much you owe in debt, and they'll be able to give you a rough number on what you can purchase. In saying that, it's good to know that number, but we really want to get you pre-qualified. And the reason we want to get you pre-qualified is this is going to be a specific number that we know that you can afford. Again, it's back to that scenario I mentioned. We don't want to start looking and have you fall in love with the home only to find out that you can't afford it. What pre-qualification versus pre-approval? The difference is pre-approval, the lender is going to require some paperwork from you. They are going to also run your credit. Now, yes, this is going to be a little more time consuming. And again, yes, they need to run your credit. But the important thing is we will have that specific price point we can be looking in. From there, the next stage after pre-approval is you're fully underwritten with the lender. And this will require more paperwork. For instance, they'll ask you, what bonuses do you make? They may want to see your taxes. So there's a variety of extra information they may want from you. Now, this step is not necessary before looking at homes, but it's a good step to do. And the reason is if you are fully underwritten, that means that we can close on your new home quicker. Having a quicker close could be very important if we're up against other offers, and that's what a seller is looking for. So that will really help us to make your offer to the seller stronger. Once you speak with that lender, then the fun begins. We get to start searching for homes, a little home shopping. So there's a few different ways to see homes. Most of the homes as they come on the market, they will have open houses on Saturdays and Sundays, usually in the afternoon, and those are times where you can go directly. You don't need to make a specific appointment for time, and you can stay as long as you want. We also have the option for private appointments. This is where I will make an appointment for us. We'll be able to see the home without any other buyers and usually without the seller, and it's a time where you can just really take your time and evaluate the house. Now, not all homes will allow private appointments, but most homes do. And during our initial consultation, that's one thing we'll chat about. Do you prefer going to open houses? Do you prefer a private showing? Do you prefer a little bit of both? So we will customize how you want to see homes, just dependent on what your schedule permits and what you want. So after home shopping, we find that home that you absolutely love. What happens next? Well, next we want to find out more information about that home that you love. Santa Clara County is a pretty fast-paced market, so sellers will typically provide to us a disclosure package up front. In that disclosure package, there is a wealth of information. Typically, there are property inspections in there. You'll have your general property inspection, you'll have your termite inspection, and you'll have your roof inspection. That will give us a very good idea of condition of the home. Now, keep in mind the sellers are not obligated to give us these inspections, but usually they do. There's also questionnaires that they fill out. They'll disclose to us any defects they know about the house, any potential neighborhood nuisances, upgrades to the house. They'll just give us details about the house and what they know about it. We'll also have our natural hazard report. That natural hazard report tells us things such as, are we on a fault zone? Are we in a flood zone, a liquefaction zone, a fire zone? So again, good information to know. From there, after reviewing disclosure package, we also want to look at pricing of the home. Sellers can price their home any way that they want. So some sellers choose to price their home higher than the most recent sales. Some sellers will actually price the home a little bit lower than recent sales in order to stimulate multiple offers. So we will look at those recent sales and determine how this home is priced and where we think a good offer price should go. Another good thing to find out before writing an offer is, do I like this neighborhood? It's really good to drive through the neighborhood at different times of the day. Go in the morning, go in the evening, find out what the commute is like. If there's any neighbors walking around, working in their garages, it's always a great idea to just say hello to them and see if you can strike up a conversation and see what they think about the neighborhood. It's always valuable information to get another's insight about that particular neighborhood. After going over all the information and you still feel that you absolutely love the home, our next step is to make that offer. So what I'll do is I will call the listing agent who represents the seller and I'll find out some more information from us. One of the things I'll find out is, are they setting an offer date or are they taking offers as they come? I'll also find out, what is the seller looking for? Are they looking for a short close? Are they looking for a long close? Again, to circle back to the lender category, if you're pre-approved or underwritten, we will be able to do a short close, or I should say likely be able to do a short close. Let's say we're in a multiple offer situation and we're up against another offer that has a longer close. That short close that we're presenting to the seller may ensure that we get the home over that other buyer. We're also going to discuss strategy. So I'll find out from the listing agent how many disclosure packages they have out on the home. Most listing agents do track this. This will give us a good idea of potentially how many other buyers we're up against. Once we have all this information, we will strategize together and figure out what the best terms are for the offer. And by terms, I mean, what do we think the winning price will be? What should we do for contingency periods? And I'll talk a little more about contingency periods in just a bit. And then how quickly should we close on the home? Once we determine all that, I will put together the offer. I'll send it to you through DocuSign. I'll also send you the disclosures through DocuSign where you can all electronically sign, and then we will present that offer to the listing agent. The listing agent then presents the offer to the seller. As buyers, we will get a few different responses back from the seller. So let's say we're the only offer that they have in hand. If they absolutely love our offer, they will sign it and accept it, which is the ultimate goal. If they love our offer, but they do want to make some changes, they will counter our offer. We will get that counter offer, and if we agree to their terms, we will sign and be in contract. But we can also counter their counter offer if we agree to their terms but want to make a couple changes. We will officially be in contract once both parties agree to both terms. If they're not happy with our offer, they can also just reject our offer. They are not obligated to counter our offer. Now, if they have multiple offers in hand, they can also do something that's called a multiple counter offer that works very similar to a counter offer, but there are some differences, which again, when we meet in person, I can go over in more detail. So the ultimate goal, of course, is for that seller to accept our contract. So in this home buying process chart, our next step is contract accepted. Congratulations. So just to note, when a seller accepts a buyer's contract, they cannot back out of the contract. So if they get an offer the next day that's of higher value than ours, they cannot bring that contract in. They can keep it as backup, but they cannot put it in front of us. They cannot back out unless we do not perform on our end. Once we're in contract as buyers, we're going to be putting a good faith deposit into escrow at the title company. This good faith deposit is typically 3% of the purchase price, and it will be part of your down payment. So let's say your down payment is 20%. At close of escrow, you're only putting 17% in because you already have that 3% into title. The title company is a third-party company. They don't work for the sellers. They do not work for the buyers. They only work off of joint mutual contract instructions. That 3% good faith deposit shows the sellers that we are moving forward, and it also protects the sellers in case we decide to back out at the last minute. As buyers, we have these time frames called contingency periods, which I'll be going over now. If we have contingency periods and we back out during the contingency periods, that 3% good faith deposit will be going right back to you. The seller cannot hang on to it. The only time the seller can hang on to that good faith deposit is if we have removed our contingency periods, which means we're moving forward 100%. If we back out last minute, they potentially can hang on to that 3% good faith deposit if they've been harmed financially. Now it's time to talk contingency periods. As I had mentioned, these are time frames where as buyers we can explore a little bit more about the home, and if we do have contingencies in place, you are allowed to back out of the contract and that good faith deposit will go right back to you. There's 3 different types of contingency periods. So you have property contingency, you have loan contingency, and you have appraisal contingency. I'm going to start with the loan and the appraisal contingency because they're just a little bit more self-explanatory. Now the loan contingency, if you're not fully pre-approved when we've written the offer, this is the time frame for you to get fully pre-approved and underwritten. Usually we want to do this beforehand because ideally a cleaner offer for the sellers would be one without a loan contingency. And again, just as a caveat, I am in the Bay Area where we don't see many contingencies. All different markets have different ways of working with contingencies. But typically in the Bay Area, most buyers do prepare ahead of time. They do get underwritten before writing offers, so many times buyers will waive their loan contingency. Appraisal contingency fits in the category of the loan contingency, but it is still different. So your lender has a pool of appraisers, and what they're doing is they're going to make sure that we did not completely overvalue your offer. So let's say we wrote an offer of $1 million on the home. What the appraiser is going to do is they're going to look at recent sales in the area, and they are going to compare them to the home that we wrote the offer. They're also going to look at the market. If it's an upward market, they're going to give pricing an uptick. If the market's going down, they're going to detract the pricing a little bit. From there, they are going to make their own determination of how much the home is worth. Let's say they say the home is not worth $1 million, it's worth $990,000. What happens then? So what will happen is if we have an appraisal contingency, we have the right to go back to the seller and renegotiate on the value. We can go, hey, Mr. Seller, the appraisal value came in at $990. We want to renegotiate our price to $990. The seller could say, absolutely not. We want that $1 million price. So at that time, we can determine if we want to back out of the contract and get our good faith deposit back, or we love the home enough that we will move forward. Now, moving forward, how does that work? What's going to happen is your lender is going to lend off of that $990,000 value, and that extra $10,000 is going to be an extra $10,000 on your down payment. So for instance, let's say you're putting 20% down for your down payment, you're going to be putting 20% down plus that additional $10,000 down as your down payment. Now again, in the Bay Area, because it's such a fast-paced area, we typically are not seeing appraisal contingencies, but when we're strategizing on the offer, as you as a buyer and myself, we're going to be looking at the valuations in the area, and we will determine if we think the appraisal will come in at value or not. If we do think we're going a little over value, we'll talk ahead of time on, do you have that buffer and funds over your down payment? The third contingency period is your property contingency. It encompasses absolutely everything except for your loan and your appraisal contingency. So if the sellers do not have property inspections available to us, this is the time we're going to do property inspections. So again, it's going to be your general property inspection, termite, roof, if there's a pool inspection. We want to find out absolutely everything about the house. If we find out there is a defect in the house, for instance, the pipes underneath the house are leaking, we can go back to the seller and ask them to A, either fix it, or B, get a credit for it. The seller does have the right to say no to our request, but at the same time, we also have the right to back out of the contract if we have that contingency period. And again, that 3% good faith deposit will go right back to you. Besides property inspections, it's a time to discover absolutely anything about the house. So again, you want to find out about the neighborhood, drive through the neighborhood. You want to find out about the schools. You want to get home insurance quotes. Any outstanding questions that you have, we want to email them to the sellers to make sure that you are fully comfortable with the house. Only once you're 110% sure about the house is when we want to remove your contingencies. And in our initial contract, we actually write in how many days that we are giving for a contingency period. So again, we're in the Bay Area and all states and areas are different. But usually when we have contingency periods, we're looking anywhere from 1 day to 10 days. So dependent on the contract, that's how many days that we'll have to remove contingencies. Now, if we don't remove contingencies in time, that is the time when sellers can potentially back out if they want, if they do have that stronger offer in backup position. Once our contingencies are removed, as buyers, we are fully locked into the contract. As I had mentioned in the beginning, when the seller signs the contract, they are 100% locked in. Once we as buyers remove our contingencies, we are 100% locked in. If we now decide to back out, the seller potentially has the right to hang on to that 3% good faith deposit. This is why I said we only want to remove contingencies if we're 110% sure. Once our contingencies are removed, it's a little bit of a waiting time. There's going to be a period of time where we are just waiting for the lender to process everything, to get their documents prepared. We will be signing loan documents about a week before we close on your house. Once those loan documents are signed, they're going to be sent back to the lender again for review. Within that week, we're also going to be doing a final walkthrough of the home, usually about 5 days before we are officially closing. That final walkthrough will be a time frame where we go through the house and we make sure that it's in the same condition as when we wrote the offer. So for instance, if they have moved furniture out and put a hole in the wall and moving out the furniture, they need to patch that hole or give us a credit. So this final walkthrough will be a time frame for us to ensure that the home is in the same condition as when we wrote the offer. About 2 days before we close, your lender is going to fund the loan. They're going to look over the documents will be good. They will then send the funds to the title company. The rest of our down payment also needs to go to the title company at least a day or two before we close. The title company will then take the funds, and their job is to make sure the home is free and clear of any liens when they give it to you. So those funds, what they're going to do is they're going to pay off all liens. So if the seller has a loan on the property, they're going to pay that off. If the seller has past due property taxes, they're going to pay that off. They're going to pay that off so when the home is delivered to you, it's free and clear of any liens except for, of course, your new loan on the property. So once title has all the funds in hand, they will be going to the county recorder's office and officially recording the home in your name. From there, you will officially be a new homeowner and get the keys. Woohoo! I'm hoping this was helpful information for you. Again, this was just a really quick overview on how the process works. If you have any additional questions or want to schedule a meeting to talk about the buying process, please connect with myself or my team. We would absolutely love to hear from you. All right, take care. Bye.